To the Ecosystem Approach show. I'm Jason.
And I'm Patricia. Tune in every Monday at 1 p.m. Pacific Time and 4 p.m. Eastern Time on Transformation Talk Radio.
We discovered that human potential is severely limited when you program humans like a machine, which is standard practice today for self-improvement.
The Ecosystem Approach teaches you how to uncover your infinite potential by using natural methods that are truly revolutionary. Join us now for the Ecosystem Approach show. Today, we're talking about Earth Day, and this is part one of a two-part series. Today, we're going to talk about a perspective, excuse me, I couldn't get that out, perspective on saving the earth that you might have not heard before. So stay tuned, don't miss the show. We are a married couple of intuitives. I'm not doing this right at all today.
Let me do this for you.
Go ahead.
We're married intuitives with over 20 years experience who created the Ecosystem Approach for you. This is much different because we see human beings as ecosystems that need to be restored instead of programmed. We show you how to take an energy approach for internal discovery that is rational, practical, and useful for everyday life.
Thank you, dear, for saying that so eloquently. Okay, so Jason, is it so clear that the earth is falling apart? I mean, it's so clear to me. And if you're listening, you're probably saying, well, what can I do? Well, where's the best place to start?
The best place to start is the ecosystem that's the most important and the most neglected and invisible, but is at the root of all the ecosystem problems in the world today.
Oh, wow.
And,
okay.
And that ecosystem is your individual ecosystem.
Oh,
and people don't, that's really radical.
Okay.
Because when we think about Earth Day, we think about we're going to stop using plastics and disposables.
Well, right. I'm going to go clean up the beach. I'm going to go clean up a lake.
I'm going to go buy an electric car. I'm going to use solar.
Exactly.
All those things.
That's exactly what.
And there's nothing wrong with those,
right?
Doing those things.
In fact, go for it. Yay. In fact, we promote that by all means.
But what we see is that the root cause of the problems with the earth today is the ecosystem of the earth. And in order for us to help the ecosystem of the earth, we have to start with your individual ecosystem. And here's the big part of that.
Okay.
When we talk about your personal ecosystem, we're talking about your physical body.
Yes.
But we're also talking about your emotions. And the most important part of you is what is commonly known as soul. We call it essence.
Exactly.
And that part is needs to be restored because that's the part of our ecosystem that's hurting the most.
Well, and one of the reasons we created the ecosystem was because we could see not only in ourselves but in others how this negative energy that was around them, on top of them, in them, how when we removed it, people saw things from a much different perspective and they felt better.
Yes.
It really, I mean, you got a twofer there, and we didn't even know that was going to happen.
Well, and here's the point we're trying to make about the emotions.
Okay.
And when we try and come together for collective action on behalf of the earth, whether it's greenhouse gases, whether it's toxins in the oceans,
right,
whether it's the droughts that we're experiencing here in in the West,
absolutely,
the flooding, the weather, all those things, it's a symptom of our collective emotional dysfunction. That's a biggie.
Wow, that's huge.
And when I say it's emotional, because what I see is that the problems with greenhouse gases and toxins in the earth, and losing our topsoil, and all the things.
Sure.
It's hard to list them all. When I look at the root, it's that the soul of the earth is what's hurting. And that
Oh,
soul of the earth is made up of individual souls.
correct.
And if you're listening right now, you're one of
Yeah.
those souls. We call it essence. We like that word better, but um, that essence is an intangible. It's an
Right.
energy,
Right.
and that's where we have to start,
Yeah.
because it's you can only have so many electric cars and so many. There has to be some sort of collective action.
Well, not only collective action, but the drive to create a form of a balance. The problem is, one more time, our emotions when we drive to get collective action with a group of people. The problem is the emotion of that group.
Yeah.
The emotions, excuse me, emotions, multiple emotions.
And so what are those emotions? And by the way, these
Things like,
emotions are connected to programming, and
yeah,
that's a big part of what we're talking about today.
right.
But fear, greed, jealousy, toxic competition,
Hmm.
selfishness, those
Mm,
are all come from programming,
right,
and those are the emotions that keep us from coming together
right.
and doing some sort of collective action.
Right, exactly, exactly. Because the bottom line is that, well, we get stuck in the small bits of connections with different people that are negative, and we forget about the big picture.
Yeah, exactly. And so, I Googled it. I said, okay, what's keeping us from doing climate change? And we have this here, and it's kind of stupid. Um, I
Well,
I
actually, I
Google
think it's
I Google a lot of stuff just for our shows, so I can talk about from our perspective. Um, um, I'm very judgmental. I'm very opinionated, but from our perspective, it just doesn't make any
right.
sense. So the Time article, there was an article in Time that said it's because humans are naturally self-absorbed,
Mm,
and that's not what we see.
no,
It's not that humans are naturally self-absorbed.
I
They become self-absorbed
that's correct.
with programming, treating
Yes,
yourself like a machine instead
correct.
of using your internal essence and restoring that essence, which is the main part of your ecosystem.
Exactly.
We look outside of ourselves to have someone tell us what we should do,
Right,
what we should
right, right,
think, what
right,
we should
right.
wear, what we should consume, how we
Yes,
should,
true.
what we should believe,
Yes.
who we
Oh,
should
yeah.
marry,
Yeah.
you know, we
Yeah.
all sorts of
It's true.
things.
It's true. It's true. It's true.
So, what would happen if the world, critical mass of the world, had a healthy essence? This is what
Wow.
would happen, and this is what we're trying to get to. There'd be collective action, reasoned arguments, seeing others' motives, which is what happens when you start to restore your ecosystem. You see your own motives,
Yes,
and you
but you
see other
also see
people,
other people's motives.
and it
Exactly.
would be
And intentions.
highly democratic. So everybody
Wow.
would get
What a
together and say,
concept.
how are we going to fix this problem?
Right.
And people say, well, I want to do this way. I want to do this way. And people say, well, let's vote. And then and whoever the majority would say, okay,
Yes.
the majority think so. We're all going to do it that way.
Right. Right.
With
Right.
no
Right.
competition, no bad, no, you know, no sour grapes. But we want to tell you the story very quickly
Okay.
about the beginning of the ecological movement in the United States happened in the Bay
Actually, in the
Area.
San Francisco Bay Area, where I grew up. And I'll try and make this as short as possible. But there was three women. One of them happened to be looking out her window one day as the story was told, and um, she saw someone dumping garbage into the San Francisco Bay. And so she talked to her other two friends, and they decided that that wasn't correct. Well, there was a whole big thing behind it. They were going to take action on that, but then there ended up being a whole big thing behind it. The other kind of coincidence is, hold that thought, is that Jason and I actually lived on San Bruno Mountain in Brisbane for
Before we moved here.
before we moved here. And because that woman, go back to the story, that woman saw the garbage being dumped. What she found out was they were going to cut off the top of San Bruno Mountain, and
That was the plan.
that was the plan.
They were going to cut off San Bruno Mountain and use that soil,
Right.
and fill it into the San
Into the
Francisco
bay, into the bay, and
build on it.
and build on it and make a lot of money on it. But in the process, these three women figured out all the fish that would die, all the little microbes in the water would die, and not to mention our ecosystem in the Bay Area would go from being quite lovely and lush most of the time to becoming a desert.
So they said that it would, instead of being a bay, it would become like a little narrow river,
Well, and
waterway.
yeah, exactly.
But it's not that they figured it out.
No.
This is the most important part of the story.
Okay.
They had some sense of their own essence, and
They did.
and through their essence they got to what we call the collective,
Yes.
which is this idea, this energy that we're all connected.
Yes.
When you work from your essence knows that we're all connected,
Right.
and then we have this collective, and then by working together it's much more beneficial for everyone than just working individually.
Exactly. Exactly.
They knew that. They innately knew
They
that.
did.
So
They did.
when they saw these plans, and they were just
Appalled would be the word.
incensed,
Yes.
appalled, whatever,
Yes.
and they created this collective action, and it was
Yes.
the beginning of the eco
Movement,
in
yes.
the country.
Yes.
Yeah, I guess you can argue about that, but that's not what's important. It's the collective action. And
Yes.
so we're going to talk about that as we go on.
And I just want to say, and the ecosystem approach helps you understand not only yourself, but the collective action, so to speak, for everything around you.
Because it's an energy.
Because it's an
And
energy.
the ecosystem approach is an energy approach.
Exactly. So, Jason, what are the key points of this segment?
Your individual ecosystem is the most important one in the world.
Mm-hmm.
Climate change is a symptom of too much negative emotions in the world. And your ecosystems include your emotions and your natural connection to the importance of the collective.
Mm-hmm.
And the ecosystem approach teaches you to clear and overcome negative emotions, to work together in all parts of your life.
In the next segment, we're going to ask the question, do you treat yourself like a machine? And what's wrong with that? And what does that have to do with climate change? All right. This is the Ecosystem Approach Show with Jason and Patricia, and you're listening to Transformation Talk Radio. This is the Ecosystem Approach Show with Jason, and I'm Patricia. In this segment, we're going to ask the question, do you treat yourself like a machine? And well, what's wrong with that? And what does that have to do with climate change and or Earth Day? We are married intuitives with over 20 years experience who created the ecosystem approach for you. This is much different because we see human beings as ecosystems that need to be restored instead of programmed. We show you how to take an energy approach for internal discovery that is rational, practical, and useful for everyday life. Okay, I'm kind of getting lost. What does treating yourself like a machine have to do with climate change and trying to have a better, healthier Earth?
Okay. I'm suggesting that climate change is a symptom of the buildup of negative energy,
Oh my gosh.
negative emotions.
When you see it from that perspective, that makes perfect sense
You know,
to me.
and the root cause of that buildup is programming yourself like a machine, or treating
Yeah.
yourself like a machine.
Yeah.
And so that doesn't really, people say, I don't want to, I want to be a machine. But if you think about it, ever since the industrial age,
Okay.
I grew up in Detroit,
Right.
and there was a lot of stuff about the Henry Ford Museum and Henry Ford.
Right.
And that was where the first Model T was created, and they
Right.
created the assembly line,
Right.
which was very efficient, very logical.
Right.
But what happened is that one person would do one thing repetitively over and over and over again,
Right.
and they were paid a lot of money for the time, and they still were. When I was there,
Yes.
you made a lot of money if you could work in the factory. But one of the things that wasn't really well known, but that was known within the city, that it was boring.
Yes.
There was a lot of drug abuse.
Uh-huh.
It would wear on people.
Oh
So
yeah.
when you're part of assembly line, you're being treated like a machine
Right.
completely.
From here to here, from here to here,
Yes.
over and over and over again. Yeah.
When you, even corporate America, they set up what methodologies, ways to get the job done that
Mm-hmm.
are often very, you have to do this, this other person has to do this. You know,
Right.
there's a process, there's a logic, there's a
Right.
workflow, and that workflow can be boring. You know, even if you have to use a certain level of discrimination or intellect with it,
Sure.
whatever. And but here's the point, okay? We're designed to have an essence. So when we get up in the morning and say, okay, what should I do? Um, Most of us have to go to work. So we
Right.
program ourselves, we force ourselves to go to Mac, no matter how we feel
That's
about it.
correct. That's
Okay.
correct.
At some point though, we need to start to to access our negative emotions and say, I got to get rid of those
Yes.
with clearing, which is what we're going to show you how to do at the end of the show.
Okay.
And that buildup of negative emotions is what keeps people from really collaborating, really
Yes.
working. We're at a time in the world, 2021, this
Right.
year, when robots could conceivably do most of the work.
Correct.
So what we're left with is our true intellect, not something that we're programmed to,
Right.
but really getting to this intellect. And this is long-winded, but what I'm trying to get to is that it's this it's this essence that that we've been uncovering, Patricia and I've been uncovering for the last 20 years.
That's correct.
It creates our connection.
Oh yeah.
It takes our ability to go out in the world and cooperate with people in ways
Right.
that are highly effective and beneficial.
Mm-hmm.
And I guarantee you, what's keeping us from solving climate and climate change and the ecosystem of the world is our ability to come together and work together in a way that we can see this is our mutual self-interest, and we should take care of it.
Okay, so let me I'm going to sum this huge part up. But what you're saying is because of programming, and each one of us is programmed different. I need to say that. Some of us are programmed the same, but I'm saying for the most part, each one of us is different because we are all unique. And so what one person is programmed with might not affect someone else in the same way.
That's
Correct?
true.
Okay.
That's true.
Okay.
Keep
So
going.
the thing that I'm hearing you say is that if you use the ecosystem approach, because we saw all the toxins on people and in people and around people, we created it so we could all be a form of a free thinker. We can still work within the system, but be free thinkers and know that our essence is the health of our essence is so important. And therefore, that means our health, the importance of our health, makes a difference in the world.
Yes.
Okay.
Um, and we apologize. This is a hard concept to
It
understand.
really
We didn't
is.
really make a point. I guess the point is that it starts with our emotions and
Oh,
these mental health. You know, it's um, there's been a rash of mass shootings.
oh,
Not this month, this year, for the last couple of years.
yeah.
They're saying it's a mental health crisis. What does that have to do with climate change? It's all connected. It's
And
all part of our ecosystem, and it's reflection of the buildup of negative emotions
yes, yes,
that
yes,
we're
yes, yes.
killing each other.
And ourselves.
We're killing each other with greenhouse gases. We're killing each other with rifles,
Yes.
and COVID,
Mm.
the pandemic that we're just starting to get out of right now,
Well,
has
it's
been the result of it. It's theorized. We don't really know
right.
that it's been the breakdown of our ecosystem
Mm-hmm.
that keeps those viruses away from human beings.
That is correct. And which is it's
And
it,
why is
and
that all break? Why does it all break down? Why are we having
because of programming,
and
Jason.
negative emotions that have
Yes.
built up in each of us individually and
Yes.
all of us collectively, and it's created a really difficult.
Yeah.
It's what Earth Day is all about.
Yes. Well, and I want to make a point. I want to make sure we don't miss this point. When we're programmed and we're doing a machine like jobs, and by the way, even lawyers do machine like jobs, that type of thing. what happens is we start numbing out to our emotions because
We just have to get it done.
we just have to get it done, and we don't have time to deal with ourselves or deal with the kids or deal with the boss or whatever. Just get it done.
Go back to the three women.
Yes,
Their husbands,
we're all renowned, by the way.
yes, but the point is that their husbands and the men, quote
Mhm.
unquote, were the ones that were pushing um, this idea that, hey, what's the big deal
Yeah.
if we hurt this ecosystem? What's
Well, what's the
and
big deal if I drop, I don't know, 3 tons of garbage over here? Everything will be okay over there, but tons of garbage in one place and not even know what effects it's going to have.
to know what those effects are
Yes.
comes from your essence. It's an energy. You
Yes.
know, this morning we took our dogs out for a walk, and we said, "Oh my gosh, this is beautiful." You can see the flowers, the
The
wildflowers
wildflowers, yes.
on the that are growing right now up here. It is just beautiful. It feels good. But why
Yes.
does it feel good? It's you can't. A machine won't detect it. If you
No.
There's a joy that happens when we go outside and we're in this beautiful lush environment,
Yes.
and that feeling isn't logical.
No,
A machine wouldn't get it.
that's correct.
And when the people wanted to, these developers wanted to put all this garbage into the bay,
Yes.
it made perfect sense
Mm.
because they were just working with their left brain, their logical brain,
Yes.
their the part of themselves that was programmed,
Right.
and they were programmed to make money,
Yes.
and it made a lot of sense.
Yes.
But the women were connected to this, not only to their own essence, but to a collective that says, no, it doesn't,
Something's not right there.
something's not right.
Yes.
And
So
that's what we're trying to say here today.
exactly. In other words, use the ecosystem approach. This is a plug, everyone. Use the ecosystem approach because when you start with yourself, and you should start with yourself, you can make a difference. By this time next year, you can make a difference in the world.
And if we're talking to you right now and there's something inside you that says, yeah, I have to start with my ecosystem, that's really something that'll make a difference
Yes.
in the world. You need
Wow.
to start. You need to go to our website right now, theecosystemapproach.org, and sign up for our free section.
Right.
You'll get our weekly newsletter. We'll talk about that later in the show.
Okay.
But do that now, theecosystemapproach.org.
Okay. So, Jason, you have a John Muir story?
Yeah, I love this because this is about, John Muir was the head of he was one that originally founded the Sierra Club.
That's right.
And one of the stories about this, which I love because we're in John
John
Muir
Muir country.
yeah,
Yes.
being close to Yosemite, he climbed a tree and
During a storm?
during a storm.
Okay. Yeah.
And there's some really amazing storms here, so that was no small thing.
Yes.
And to feel what the tree felt
Hmm.
during a
Oh,
storm.
you mean to have the same experience as
Yeah.
the tree had?
Yes.
Oh, interesting.
And I guarantee you that came from his essence.
Yeah.
That wasn't logic.
Yeah.
Someone would have probably said, "You're nuts."
I'm sure they did. Well,
It
they
was-
did to him more than once, actually.
but he wanted to experience the essence of Yosemite,
yes,
the natural world, and himself.
exactly.
As did those three women.
Exactly. So, Jason, what are the key points of this segment?
Treating yourself like a machine disconnects you from essence.
Mm,
We try to educate people to understand climate change, but and to take action. But education is a form of programming. We have to talk some more about that.
okay.
Your essence has all the resources and wisdom to see the earth struggle and to work collectively to heal
Yes.
yourself and the world. And the ecosystem approach teaches you to connect to essence for an unlimited wisdom and knowing about the natural world.
Hang out in a tree sometime.
Yeah.
Sorry. In the next segment, we're going to talk about why you should start with your ecosystem when it seems so disconnected from the solutions for climate change and saving the earth. This is the Ecosystem Approach Show with Jason, and I'm Patricia. You're listening to Transformation Talk Radio. This is the Ecosystem Approach Show with Jason, and I'm Patricia. And in this segment, we're going to talk about why you should start with your own ecosystem when it seems so disconnected from the solutions for climate change and saving the earth. We are married intuitives with over 20 years experience who created the ecosystem approach for you. This is much different because we see human beings as ecosystems that need to be restored instead of programmed. We show you how to make an energy approach, excuse me, take an energy approach for internal discovery that is rational, practical, and useful for everyday life. So, Jason, why should you start with your own ecosystem? And okay, wait, let me just go on. What about recycling and lowering your carbon footprint and other things to help the planet? I mean, why is your system so important and those not?
Well, ironically, those are specific problems and solutions,
Yes.
which is very left brain and very mechanical and very programmed.
Okay.
I'm trying to get to the root cause, which is I'm saying that our individual ecosystem, which makes up the collective ecosystem of the
Correct.
world,
Correct.
we're one piece of that
Yes.
ecosystem, is what's wrong, and you have to approach the problem.
Mm-hmm.
This is Earth Day is coming up.
Yes.
The problem is not a mechanical problem.
It's
It's
an
an
emotional one.
it's an ecosystem one, and that's
Mm,
because of the buildup of these negative energies, which are
yes.
emotions.
Ah, got it.
You know,
Got it.
and I know it's confusing. We're saying negative energies and emotions are the same, and they are.
Yes.
Positive energies are also emotions.
Yes.
Um, um, and that buildup of negative emotions in our essence and then our collective essence is what causes the problems on Earth today.
Well, okay. uh, I think they need more of an explanation.
Okay. Well, John Muir,
Okay.
I remember reading the stories at the turn of the century.
Right.
He um, there was some Hetch Hetchy, they built a dam,
Yes, they did.
and he was saying how awful that would be for the ecosystem of Yosemite,
Hmm.
and how we need to protect these natural lands.
Right.
It was the first Roosevelt,
Yes.
Teddy Roosevelt, that I think John Muir connected with to create some of these national parks, because he
Yeah.
understood that the ecosystems of the United States had to
Mhm.
be preserved,
Yes.
because he knew back then it wasn't it was
It
back,
wasn't.
even this was like 100 years ago,
It wasn't going in a very good direction, was
and
it?
people just it was all about money
Well,
and
because
progress. It
and
was called progress
and
then.
I remember one of the things that just touched John Muir was that the people were going out and destroying herds. I'm talking generations of buffalo,
Mm.
just for the hides, and then leaving the meat to rot. And he I remember reading that he was appalled by this. The Indians weren't doing it, they were killing for meat, but they weren't killing to
For
destroy.
sport.
For Yes, they weren't killing for sport and the money of it.
Well, and
Yes.
to understand this, you don't understand it by reading it in a book. You understand it because there's something inside of you
Yes.
that
See.
says, no, this is not right. And
Yes,
John Muir had that something inside of
he
him.
did.
And what we're trying to talk about today
Yes.
is it was his ecosystem, it was his soul that
Hmm.
was screaming out and said, this isn't right. Now, if you want your soul to have that kind of
Scream.
that connection,
There you go.
that
Okay, connection.
sensitivity,
Yes.
that's why we created the ecosystem approach. And so people say, well, I have to live in the world the way it is. I have to, I go to a company that programs me to do
Right.
my work.
Yes.
We understand that, and when we say we would take a rational, practical approach,
Yeah.
we don't want you to sell all your worldly possessions to
Possessions
go
and
work, live on a mountaintop someplace. We want you to have a better experience when you go to that job, and the
it,
ecosystem approach was designed to
exactly.
help you do that.
And by the way, sitting on a mountaintop, don't get me wrong. Anybody who wants to go sit in a mountaintop, not, good for them. I'm not saying, I'm saying that sitting on a mountaintop isn't right for everyone. Some need to go and definitely go to that job and make a difference in other people's lives by doing their jobs.
Yes, we want you to there's so much there's so much righteousness, black and white thinking
Right.
when it comes to this idea of energy and being natural and being
Hmm.
one with the earth.
Right.
It gets very black and white, and we know that it's never that black and white, but it has to start inside first. Your essence is the place to start, and then you can make judgments and um, and decide, well,
Okay.
should I be really natural here? Should I be really natural over here?
Right.
Maybe I can give a little bit over here, but then I'll be,
Yes.
and that's the way it's going to be
Well,
going forward. We
and
know that.
and one of the things that we found is by clearing using the ecosystem approach daily, you start to be able to discern the difference between what you're doing right now and if there's another way to do whatever you're doing right now. Is there another way to do it that is less corrosive to not only you but the environment as well? And it can be anything.
And that's an energy. To know that, that's
Yes.
an energy. And
Yes.
the way you know that is by connecting with your essence.
Yes.
And
Daily.
your essence is there already, but
Yeah.
we want to help you restore that essence to its full
Yeah.
operating, because again, if you go to our website, theecosystemapproach.org,
Hmm.
we have an article about, it's under the About tab, about the discovery.
Yes.
And one of the things that we've talked about before, but we've discovered that as intuitives, we see this, that 80% of our essence collectively is
Mhm.
covered with negative energy. It's like
Negative, toxic, corrosive energy,
emotions,
emotions.
energies, emotions,
Yes.
beliefs, all
Mhm.
these things, that's the root.
Yes.
And once you start seeing how you can remove it for yourself, then
Mm.
you can start seeing how you can remove it collectively for the world.
The world.
And that's
Yes.
where it's got to start.
Yes.
And there's nothing wrong with lowering your carbon footprint or any of
Or
that
or
other.
cleaning up a slough on Earth Day. I mean,
Right.
definitely. You know,
Planting a tree.
planting a tree. But take a look at where that tree is. Where do you really want that tree? And think, this is really important in all of this. Think about where you want to be in 20 years and where that tree is going to be in 20 years. Believe it or not, when you use the ecosystem approach, you not only think about today, but you think about tomorrow and the next day and 20 years from now.
You're able to see it from a more holistic standpoint,
Oh,
is what you're saying. Yes.
it's
Yes.
phenomenal. And by the way, believe it or not, it's a byproduct of using the ecosystem approach. It's pretty darn cool, if you ask me.
Yeah.
Yes.
So, one of the things we didn't say in the last segment was, if you sit in a classroom, if you want to resolve the problems with the earth by educating a whole generation of
Okay,
students,
sure.
the problem is that you educate them, you program them with
Hmm.
certain principles, but
Yes.
then as things change, which they might,
Yes.
then you have to reprogram them.
Yeah.
And
True.
and reprogram them again, because
Hmm.
we don't know. But if you go to the root and you create this wisdom on the inside,
Hmm.
that is able to be accessed at will,
Well,
then there's no need for reprogramming, because people just know, they
wh-
just get it.
and they can change without resistance.
Yes.
They can see, they can have a 360 view, is what I call it, without resistance. And by the way, resistance is an emotion that looks
So
like fear
so
and
is
anger and
stubbornness.
hate and stubbornness. I don't know what it means.
Stubbornness is an emotion that can be cleared.
Yes.
So how to clear?
Okay.
So,
Well, do we want to do key points first?
oh yeah, let's do
Okay,
that.
Jason, what are the key points of this segment?
Developing your own ecosystem is foundational for the collective evolution and saving the earth. As you learn to restore your own ecosystem, you will create a pathway and share the learning in the collective.
Yes.
And the disintegration of the earth's ecosystem is a problem of essence of the world, and that's the root.
Okay.
And the ecosystem approach teaches you to restore your ecosystem and then connect to the essence of the world.
By the way, that's powerful, everyone. That's real power. So, Jason, you want to tell everyone how to clear?
So I know Olivia's going to show the picture of the processor, which is something that we created on the other side. It's very simple. You can use whatever posture you want. You can be standing, sitting,
Okay.
walking, laying down,
Mm-hmm.
standing on your head. It doesn't matter. And so when we say to eliminate, whatever we say to eliminate veils and illusions, barriers, negative
Mm-hmm.
emotions, gather those up in your body, in your mind's eye, in your imagination, and blow it into that processor. If you don't have a processor with you, you can
Use a garbage can.
in your yes, you can always use the processor because it's always with you in your
Yes.
imagination. Use a garbage can, and if not, if you're driving, then blow it into an imaginary garbage can or an imaginary processor.
Processor. Exactly.
And we have a
Exactly.
picture of the processor on our website. So.
Exactly. And which is quite cool. So stay tuned when we come back. We're going to do some clearing to help you connect with your essence and start affecting the collective. Love that. This is the Ecosystem Approach Show with Jason, and I'm Patricia. You're listening to Transformation Talk Radio. This is the Ecosystem Approach Show with Jason, and I'm Patricia. And in this segment, we're going to do some clearing to help you connect with your essence and start affecting the collective. And I'm talking about the collective. You affect the collective energy around the world when you change your energy. It's
Yes.
actually quite simple.
Yes.
So, Jason, you ready?
Here we go. I direct all my resources in all dimensions to eliminate the barrier so I can see that the climate crisis is a problem of the soul or essence of the world.
Nice and easy. Take a breath. Throw out any negative energy that's blocking you from seeing that. Throw it into that processor or the garbage can. And to eliminate any fear I have that is focusing on climate or ecological change will hurt me personally and my security. Release and let go that fear and that false belief. Take a breath.
And to eliminate the feelings of anger, hate, rage, and bitterness that disrupts my connection to the collective, that
Take a breath.
collective energy.
It's huge. Take a breath. And to eliminate any feelings of fear, hurt, and shame that I have that blocks my connection to essence, to my essence and the earth's essence. Take a breath.
And to eliminate the barrier so I can have a connection to my essence and the collective that's connected to earth.
Nice. Love it. Take a breath. And to eliminate the veils and illusions so I can see that we are all connected and collective action is always best. Clearing first, collective action second. Take a breath.
And to eliminate the feelings of fear and terror that makes me cling to solutions outside of myself, which is programming.
Yes. Take a breath. And to eliminate all the hurt and depression I already have that tells me my ecosystem needs to be restored, really restored. Take a breath. This is one step at a time here, one clearing at a time.
And to eliminate any anger I have that blocks my essence and my connection to the collective.
And to eliminate the false belief that the best answers are always outside of myself. Guess what? That's programming. Truth is, you know the answers on the inside. Pick an easy one and start with that. Ask yourself, take a breath.
And to eliminate the feelings of resistance that I have to my connection, to my essence or the collective.
That's a good one.
Take a breath.
And to eliminate any thinking that says, I don't have to be concerned with Earth's ecosystem or my own, when the truth is, yes, you do. Take a breath.
And to eliminate the clarity so I can see and connect with the collective through my essence.
Nice. Take a breath.
That's an amazing feeling, by the way.
Yes.
You know,
it is. It is. It's lovely. Take a breath.
Almost indescribable. And if you've been really programmed, there's a good chance you're numb to that part of yourself.
Yeah.
And of course,
True.
that's why you should
So,
use the
so
ecosystem approach, which you're going to talk about in just a second. So
and so
hold on,
one
hold
of
on.
and to eliminate in all of my programming that says I can I cannot feel it, since I can't feel any of this, it doesn't matter. But the truth is, it does matter, and so do you. You're here, you're part of this collective. Take a breath.
And to eliminate the veils and illusions so I can see that restoring my own ecosystem is always the most important.
Start with you. Take a breath.
And should we activate life force?
Okay, here we go. I direct all my resources in all dimensions to activate life force energy so I can use life force energy for all that I need, want, desire, and deserve. Have that come right in through the top of your head, everyone. Let it go all the way down your body, your torso, to the tips of your toes. Stop it right there. Turn it around and let the rest of that amazing energy, life force energy, help you remove even more negative energy from you, because you came here to do something. It's time that you do it. Take a breath, everybody.
And to activate life force so I can have hope for an ecosystem that is healthy for myself and for the world.
I love that. Take a breath. In through the top of your body. There you go. And activate life force so I can trust that I need my essence restored to help the earth restore its ecosystem. Take a breath, everyone. Top of your head. This is for the good of everyone. Blow out any negative energy.
And to activate life force so I can decide to use the ecosystem approach to learn how to restore my ecosystem and other ecosystems.
Take a breath.
Take a breath.
And to activate life force so I can be happy and healthy, have clarity, awareness, and objectivity. Whoa, there you go. Have fun and laughter and joy and the ability to know that using the ecosystem approach is in your best interest. Nice and easy. Take a nice breath, call all that in, let it start moving things around in there and push out any negative energy that's left over and throw it in the processor. Jason, what are we going to talk about next week?
Well, okay, this is Earth Day Part 2. You know, Earth Days were actually in the middle of these our two shows. So
I see.
This was perfect.
Okay.
But we're going to talk about the most pervasive toxin on Earth today.
Oh.
And what we have to do to reduce it, what you can do to reduce it, and how we can reduce it to make progress.
I love that.
You might be able to guess what that is, but we're not gonna. We're just gonna let that teaser out there for
you know. And, well, I have to tell you, everyone, I don't know what it is.
So if you
off the top, so
if you
great.
If you go to our website right now,
okay,
theecosystemapproach.org, and sign up for our free section. That's the way to start working on your ecosystem, not only for yourself but for the world. Because when your ecosystem becomes more evolved, when your ecosystem is restored, there's a effect with the collective.
Which is very nice.
And as more and more people restore their ecosystems, our ability to recognize the problem, come together to solve the problem, and then take action that's collaborative enough to be effective to solve the problem. That's what happens. But it can't happen with a one, fixing something over here and fixing something over here, restoring this wetland over here, and And by the way, they've been restoring the wetland of
the Bay Area, the San Francisco Bay Area
for how many years now?
It's close to 40 years, I believe.
40 years,
maybe even 50.
And it's still a work in progress.
Yes.
So what we have to do for the earth is start with you first.
Yes.
And if that speaks to you, if that idea says, oh yeah, there's something about that. It sounds crazy to me, but and it is kind of crazy. It's way out there, but if it speaks to you, if some part of you gets this, like those 3 women who said, you can't do this to the bay, something's wrong.
Yes.
If it's like if you have that little part of you that's like John Muir, that wants to experience the natural world because it gives you joy, you feel it inside of yourself, you have to do the ecosystem approach because we created this for you.
Yes.
And it gets to that connection that's so important, that's so vital, that makes you feel alive, makes you feel happy.
Yeah.
Makes you, it's that spring feeling all the time.
Well, and you know what? I have to say this because I have a minute to say this, but the ecosystem approach has not only literally changed my life, it has physically changed my life. And I can't imagine not using the ecosystem approach every day to make not only my life better, but the lives around me better and healthier and happier and all of those things. I'm not saying life goes away. It doesn't go away. And even
We
that
still have struggles, we still have problems.
absolutely we do. But the bottom line is that the most important thing we can do today is to use the ecosystem approach for ourselves first.
So go to our Facebook page,
Okay.
theecosystemapproach.org. Be sure and like us while you're there. You can see these. We're doing this Facebook Live. We're doing these shows on Facebook Live, so they're recorded there. So if you go to the video section, you can see our videos and see the video of this show. And of course, like us while you're there,
and tell a friend.
Yeah, tell a
friend, a family member.
The ecosystem approach is done the best when it's with the buddy system.
Correct. So we'll connect next week, Monday at 1 p.m. Pacific and 4 p.m. Eastern Time. This is Transformation Talk Radio. You're listening to the Ecosystem Approach with Jason and Patricia.
Remember, your ecosystem is the most important one in the world.
Thank you for listening to the Ecosystem Approach Show with Jason and Patricia. I'm Patricia. Tune in every week as we discuss practical ways to apply the ecosystem approach and develop your potential to live your life on your terms. For more information, visit our website at theecosystemapproach.org.